Hello students, my name is Maggie Gaddis. I will be teaching your lab this semester. I am going to take you on a tour of the course. This will give you some insights into the design of the learning experience and just make you aware of the basic structure and pattern of the assignments. So this is the home page. Normally the announcements will be right here and you'll find this announcement right here. And then right below that, I have information about the labs written right here. You're going to come and pick up your lab supplies from Osborne on campus whenever it is convenient for you. If you are nowhere near campus, you should contact me right away so we can arrange for me to either meet you somewhere or for me to mail them to you. The lab manual is right here on the homepage, and you're going to download this document and then you're going to place it in a cloud document somewhere like in your OneDrive or your Google Drive, and you're going to be able to just write your answers right into the manual, and then whenever there's a deadline, you'll just send me a link to your manual, which it will be the same link every time, so that I can see your progress. I can see how far you've gotten in the lab manual. So that's how we'll handle that. And then over here on the right, you can see some deadlines. But let me urge you not to follow the course by the deadlines, but rather by your own schedule so that you can work when it's appropriate for you. And also because as I go through here, I'll show you in our discussions, there are 2 deadlines, and in Canvas, I can only set 1 deadline. And so if you just show up on the day when the Canvas calendar / deadline tells you that something is due, you will have already missed a deadline. So please use the syllabus instead. And let's take a look at that. So this 1 credit lab goes in conjunction with a 3 credit lecture, which you may or may not be in. You do need to take both classes to graduate if this is your elective science course, but you may have already taken the other one or have plans to take the lecture course later in a later semester. So take a look at our assignments for the course. We're going to have a discussion each week, and this is going to be like doing a pre-lab. You're going to answer questions that are going to indicate that you've read the lab. So in order to meet that deadline, you're going to want to read the next lab when you finish a lab. So when you finish lab 1, read lab 2 before you finish your work session. So your mind can start thinking about what information you need, what supplies you need, etc. And we'll talk about all of that in the lab discussions. And then of course you're going to complete the labs, and these are all inquiry style labs where you are going to design the experiment. And I will give you guidance based on like what kinds of animals we're working on at the time or what theory we're working on. And there will be a lot of autonomy, and it might feel a little uncomfortable at first. Like the very first lab, you're not going to design an experiment. It's a thought experiment. You're just going to design the experiment in your mind. You're not going to actually design it and carry it out. And then after the thought experiment of lab 1, we have a microscopy lab, which is another pen and paper lab, and then we'll start moving into a space where you design the procedures and you carry out the lab and report back to me on that. We will have lab quizzes periodically throughout the semester to check your understanding in the lab content. And then by the end of the semester, you shall have written 1 lab report about a lab you have already completed. And this is essentially a 5-paragraph essay with the headings intro, methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. And you can write that lab report as soon as you pass by a lab that you enjoy. And as soon as you see a gap in your schedule when you might be able to sit down a couple hours and write that report. Please don't wait till the end. Do it when it is most comfortable for you. All right, now let's take a look at the course schedule. If you're also in lecture, this should look very familiar. The deadlines are essentially the same from week to week. There's always like a discussion deadline on a Wednesday, unless there's some strange permutations due to the fact that we have 2 breaks this semester. And then, of course, the very first week also breaks from the predominantly Wednesday deadline. The thing you really need to understand is that there's always a discussion open and you should always be there. And so, in order to meet the deadline, you should expect to be in the discussion at least once early in the week. And then you can move on to some other tasks in other classes. And if you plan to participate in this class early in the week, you're going to capture the deadline. So Monday is the end of the week. So we go through a whole week and then we have the weekend and then you have one more business day that Monday and a midnight deadline. And that's just something so that we don't have deadlines falling on religious observance over the weekend. And there's also an opportunity for people to either jump way ahead by working on the current week on Monday, even though the current week doesn't start till Tuesday, or ask last minute questions because it is the work from the week before. And now you'll see that we have sometimes you'll have 2 weeks to complete a lab depending on its level of complexity, sometimes 1 week. And the lab order follows the lecture outline as closely as possible. And then, yeah, as you can see, the labs are due on Mondays, and then the quizzes, the periodic quizzes per unit are due on Tuesdays. And then at the end, if you have written your first draft to an acceptable and complete draft by Monday, May 3rd, I'll project your final grade and you can decide if you feel happy with that. If you want to work on it more, you'll have more time to wrap up a final draft. But many students find that they have already achieved enough success when they submit their first draft, but I will not project your final grade if you do not submit a complete draft. So, going into discussions, notice that everything is already available. So if you're working ahead, work at your own pace. You can always make a discussion post long before the discussion is even open according to the syllabus schedule. And as soon as there are other folks making posts in there, you can make your reply posts. So you can really self-direct in this class and work ahead as much as you'd like. My feedback for you is that if you're going to fall behind or you foresee a roadblock, that you please contact me before the deadline. Yes, please just pick up the phone and text me or call me or email me, whatever feels most comfortable. You should try to reach out to me before the deadline because, after all, we're modeling professional communication here. If you just didn't show up to work, you would lose your job. So don't just not show up to lab. Be communicative with me and I will be your ally. Now, looking in the modules, notice there's all this frontage matter, and this will all get pushed to the bottom after the first week. And then you'll see unit 1 at the very top. And then know that I rotate these so that the current unit is at the very top, but that the information never goes away. And it's already published, as I just mentioned. The whole course is already visible, so there's nothing holding you back. You work at your pace, and you never know what's going to happen as time unfolds in the modern era. And so I would say work as hard and as efficiently as you can as soon as you see that window in your time to spend. And you can always do more than one lab at the same time. And that, just chunk out a day and get a bunch of it done. And then here are those simple quizzes here. You can see they don't bear a lot of points, and they are not worth very much of the total course points. So here we can see discussion are worth 20%, labs 60%, lab report 10%, and lab quizzes 10%. All right, I think that pretty much wraps it up. The only other page I would show you is the page called Pages. And so if you want to see some of the back files that are producing the web pages, you can look in here. Otherwise, I really look forward to interacting with you, and I hope that we have a successful, safe, and productive semester. Thank you very much.